From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo. A big search and rescue operation continues this morning in the waters of America's Potomac River after last night's deadly midair crash of a passenger jet and a military helicopter near the U.S. Capitol. A Canadian-made Bombardier regional jet, an American Eagle flight carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew, collided with a U.S. Army Black Hawk while the plane was on approach to land at Washington's Reagan National Airport. 3 soldiers were on board the helicopter, which was on a training flight at the time. Passengers on the regional flight included a group of American figure skaters and their coaches returning from a development camp in Kansas. We're learning a little more about the moments before the crash.
On live ATC, you can hear the control tower at Reagan National Airport ask the Black Hawk helicopter if it sees the passenger plane. ABC News consultant, retired Marine pilot Steve Ganyard.
The helicopter said that they saw the regional jet. They acknowledged visual separation, meaning that the responsibility to stay clear of the regional jet was theirs.
As to what led to the collision, Ganyard speculates the chopper may have seen another plane it thought was the jet.
And they thought everything was fine.
NTSB investigators will have the final say. They're on the scene. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Reporter Sam Sweeney says this crash ends a long period in the U.S. without a passenger jet crash.
We have not had a crash in more than 15 years. There has been so much work done over the decades to make aviation safer for all of us through NTSB investigations, through FAA regulations. But last night, all of that ended.
Public Safety Minister David McGuinty is scheduled to travel to Washington today to make another argument against the U.S. slapping hefty tariffs on all imported Canadian goods this weekend. McGuinty told reporters he's convinced the evidence being presented to the Trump administration regarding border security plans and repercussions about tariffs will break through. The CRTC has decided to look into the rates for phone calls at correctional facilities across the country. The review stems from complaints about high long-distance charges that families of inmates in Ontario jails had to pay for years. A proposed class action lawsuit against the province and Bell, which ran the phone system in Ontario's jails from 2013 to 21, alleges that the charges were exorbitant. Bell and the province both deny those allegations and may have to defend them in court. The CBC's new chief is launching a tour to discuss the Conservatives' promise to defund the public broadcaster if they win the next federal election.
CEO Marie-Philippe Bouchard says defunding CBC's English language services could erode a pillar of Canada's cultural identity and urges Canadians to consider how that would affect them and the country. She also says cutting $1 billion out of the CBC budget would cripple both English and French services. Jason White, The Canadian Press.
This is The Canadian Press. In sports, the Toronto Maple Leafs suffered their 3rd straight regulation loss, falling 3-1 Wednesday night to the Minnesota Wild. Toronto has scored just 3 combined goals during its slump. Leafs captain Austin Matthews says the chances were there for his group.
And there was moments in the game where we did some good things offensively, just couldn't get the puck to go in.
Linus Karlsson scored his first NHL goal, and the Vancouver Canucks stretched their win streak to 3 games with a 3-1 victory over the Nashville Predators. Among other games, Sidney Crosby scored at 3:54 of overtime to lead Pittsburgh over Utah 3-2. The Montreal Victoire is back atop the PWHL standings after earning a 4-1 win over the Ottawa Charge. Captain Marie-Philippe Poulin powered Montreal with a hat-trick. The Toronto Raptors are on a 5-game winning streak for the first time in nearly 3 years. Scotty Barnes scored 24 points, and Toronto beat league-worst Washington 106-82. From the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.